name is Philip Olubakin, and I'm the pastor of the Supernatural Life Church. I am married to my beautiful wife. Her name is Philip Olubakin. She co-pastors with me. We have 3 kids, Tinu, Tiwa, and Tony. Amazing kids. Also a trained lawyer. I schooled at the prestigious University of Olaniyan University, where I studied law. I was called to bar in 2010 to Nigerian bar, practiced ever since until I got called into ministry, church ministry. But I've still do some stint of practice here and there once in a while when I have the time. So my memories in primary school was one of not having a mom. My dad was married to another woman, whose story I don't want to talk about on video. But it wasn't a very palatable childhood memory from point of parenting, but from point of friendship. I had amazing friends, kids in the neighborhood too. I had beautiful, of course that made me very troublesome, and I was what you call them a bata. As a child, I'm that child that you send to buy a box of sugar and won't come back till later in the evening. After I've played football, I've forgotten that they even sent me an error. Secondary school was a bit more critical because I now joined proper bad gangs in GS3. I used to scribble things, draw cartoons. I used to rent it out for students in secondary school. And I met a group of people who were very naughty, became extremely naughty. I mean, we wouldn't even stay in class, we jump fence, get out of school. So I did all that, failed woefully in my SS1. Of course, I used to come to class, so I didn't even know what the curriculum was. So when it was time for exams, I would carry this book. People used to call me over syllabus, that I used to read what they didn't teach us. They didn't know that I didn't know what they even taught us. So it was that term. I finally met Jesus in my SS1 third term. SS1 third term, it was almost time for the exam, so I met Jesus. My meeting Jesus was a very funny story. But I met Jesus, I gave my life to Christ, but I had already failed too much in first time, second time, that even as I strived to do well in SS3, I had to repeat SS1 because of the cumulative effect of my failure from first time. The first time of my repeated class, my principal was shocked. He said, repeaters don't pass like this. People that repeat, they barely struggle throughout all their time in secondary school. How were you able to pass this way? So if I say you actually could have done well when you have been playing. Of course, I met Jesus. And it went on like that till I entered university to study law. But I was given philosophy to study because I didn't get up cut off for law. I did JAM when I was in secondary school. So I just stayed strong. Okay, and I scored maybe 216 or something. But I was not giving law, I was giving philosophy. So I did philosophy for 1 year in OAU. Then I did JAM again when I was in OAU and got about 290 something there about it. Entered in for law. Now I have to make it clear that both of my parents, by the time I entered university, both of my parents were already dead. So surviving in the university was quite a bit for me because I ended to take care of myself. So I was always borrowing money from friends and asking for money. But I used to draw. So I had a drawing of Pastor Debo and his wife that I pasted beside my study table. So I was going to go out of my room that day to go and ask a friend for money for food, and I just saw that drawing. So he said, if you could draw like this, why are you not making money from this drawing? So I just called a friend of mine whose boyfriend then was about to have his birthday. So I begged her to allow me to draw the boy for a fee. I think it was for 2,500 naira. Then they used to give us 5,000 naira per month in school, 5,000 naira per month as allowance when I was in school. That was just what they could scrape from my father's real estate investments, here and there, rent, and all that, 5K per month. That couldn't even solve. I remember buying my Maxwell leadership Bible, 3,600 naira, one of those months. I had just one for, and I paid my tithe 500 naira from the 5,000. So I can't remember how that month went. So I took the drawing, I painted the drawing, so I told her to allow me show it in my class, so people could not draw. So I had somebody do a scribble design for me. My name is Babayemi. I'm in your class, blah, 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 blah. I do paintings. So I just did something small so I could share in the class. I showed everybody the painting, and people were shocked. You mean you painted this? I said, yes. So that day, That very day, somebody in the class called me and said, I want to draw my daddy, I want to draw my mommy, and I want to draw my girlfriend. I said, well, if I want to draw your daddy, your mommy, and girlfriend, I think I charged him 15,000 for the entire 3. And he paid me instantly. Now you can imagine me that gets 5K every month. Talking about ministry, for me on campus, I have a very funny, weird campus story for ministry, because the church I joined was quite a small church, but I believe that God took me to that church to help me grow. People can grow better in smaller groups than they can grow in larger groups, particularly people who are shy. Yeah, people who are shy can grow better because you're just 5-6 people. I mean, you didn't even have a choice. When I come to church, I don't have a choice. I have to take opening prayer. I don't think who will take it. There's nobody to take it. You have to take it. So I have to take opening prayer, take intercessory prayers, and it helped me grow my confidence. I believe that if I joined a big church, especially I came to university, I may not have had the kind of confidence I had in myself. Just like Jack Welch. Jack Welch said, he said, you go to the university. Jack Welch is the CEO of General Electric. He said in his book that joining a small university had given him courage. So he was able to compare and to compete with his contemporaries in bigger universities because of the fact that he had grown confidence. But the things that we think come by skill actually come by confidence. Most of the people that are out there doing better things than you are not really better than you are. They are just bolder than you are. And courage is a key element, a key ingredient for success. So I learned how to lead opening prayer. I learned how to, my pastor gave me to pray, to lead songs and all that. So that was at a smaller group church. Then some things went on. Long story, I don't want to talk about it, but I left, and had to join a bigger fellowship, by instruction. Joined a bigger fellowship. Within 2 months, first thing was I met my wife in that fellowship. I used to say, if that was the only thing I came to do that fellowship, it was worth it. And yes, it is still worth it. I'm so glad I met my wife there. We were both in the choir. Then I became UGSM choir coordinator. And the moment I became UGSM choir coordinator, because I was very unpopular in the university, the pastor who made me UGSM choir coordinator said God told him to do that. I was very unpopular in the university. A lot of people left. A lot of people left the choir. A lot of people left the choir. There were over 100, and they left, and all I had left with me was about 20 people. Because people said, who is this one? This one cannot lead the choir, and all that. But God helped me grow that choir from 20 to over 300 in less than 2 years. I mean, it's a year and it's a session. And about a year, crowd, people kept coming because of the mighty power of God. A lot of things happened in that choir. I'm not sure if that's the purpose of this interview, but great things happened in the choir that people can never forget. And of course, what I did in that choir still dovetailed into what I'm doing right now, because there's a connection between them. There's somebody who God used to trigger me back when I began to lose focus, came from that choir. She came 10 years down the line, came and looked for me in Abuja, and came to tell me how strongly she was impacted by what I did in the choir. And when she came to me, I was already falling apart. I was already at a very terrible state in my life. So when she came, knowing that somebody had imparted 9 years ago was going to come back into the future, was a major trigger for me, and that shook me from my complacency, and I got my fervency and my passion back. Before I started ministry, I was called to about 2010. I was serving 2010, 2011. Within that time, I joined the church here in Abuja where I was serving, and I always wanted to do ministry. There's so much frustration when in the place of movement you have stagnancy. It was frustrating. Every year my birthday comes, I would cry on my birthday morning because I felt I was getting older and older, and I was not making any considerable progress in my life. I couldn't place my hands. You know what it is? You cannot place your hands on really what you should be doing, but you are not doing what you should be doing, or what you are doing is not what you should be doing, or you are doing what you shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? You just couldn't place your hands on what exactly you should be doing. This thing I'm doing is not what I should be doing. So it was a very frustrating time for me. My wife would say I should stop saying that it's suicidal, but honestly, I thought that I should kill myself because I was just tired. I was not a dullard. I was doing excellently in my place of work. I still have a very fantastic relationship with my boss. She's been at church severally. She was at church in my last convention, and she's the only one I ever worked with until 2016 December. When I put in my resignation letter, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't ready for church. I wasn't ready for this. I'm not doing it again. I dropped my resignation letter, and then I started from January. I started working. I started doing my personal business, do things for myself while I was preparing for ministry. So I just okay, let me go to Buhari Law School. I started going to Buhari every Saturday. Every Saturday morning I would drive. The road was very bad then. I would drive all the way to Buhari every Saturday. There were just about 10 of them, 7, sometimes 6. I would preach my heart out. I mean, we start preaching from 9 o'clock. I might still be preaching till 11:30. And I would do counseling. People wanted to see me for counseling. I'll sit down there, counsel them like 2 p.m. And I'll go. I fuel myself there every Saturday. Sometimes they're about 7, sometimes they're about 5. But it started growing, and before you knew it, we had about 50, we had about 60 people, but I was doing it steadily. I did that all through 2017, and in 2018, December, I'd done 2 conferences. I did one SLC conference, I just called Spiritual Life Conference, SLC in 2017. I did one in 2018 in Lagos. I did the last one in December. I told my wife, by the time I'm doing this last conference in December, I'm stopping this and starting church. Now, I've never wanted to do church all my life. Never wanted to do church. I didn't have the ingredient of a pastor. I don't have the patience of a pastor. I didn't have the tolerance of a pastor. I don't have anything that I don't even care about. I just wanted to do something. I'm very, very insensitive. I'm very unemotional. I don't have any sentiments. I don't know how to talk. Trying to not. I see anything the way it is. So I'm not the build of a pastor. But I knew God had called me to it, and I'd wasted too much time, not wanting to do it. So I made up my mind after December we're going to start church by January. I called about 3 people. We had our first meeting with about 4 people. Then we met January ending. February, we had our inaugural service on 10th of March, and that's how SSO started. And we are where we are today, by God's grace. Just like every other thing anyone would start, there's always fear. And I think the subject of fear needs to be addressed, very strongly. It's like what God was telling Joshua, only be thou courageous. A lot of people are stuck in life because of fear. I don't know anything in life that's held people bound more than fear. A lot of people who are foolish are very confident. And because they are very confident, they're able to churn out useless content that has done more terrible things to our families, more terrible things to our kids than beautiful content. Because people who have content are very afraid. They want it to be perfect, they want it to be acceptable, they want it to be one that everyone will take. And that's why they keep holding back, waiting for it to get perfected. You can never get it perfected. You can never know all that you would face until you face it. God told me, God said, look, son, there's so much that's still in you that it's until you get on the field you're going to find out. You will never know the potential and the strength you have until you step out into the things that God has called you. So I wrote a book, Launch. I said, shed off your fears and weights and run towards destiny. Now, this book was a personal documentation of what I had to deal with. It was like a personal journal for me. Everything that God was telling me when I was so afraid. So afraid to do anything. And there are people there. Satan just keeps telling you, what if it fails? What if it fails? I said, what if it succeeds? We'll never find out. Step out and find out. So I thought I should emphasize the place of fear. Because whether you're called to start a ministry, you start a church, start an assignment, start a business, start a career, whatever it is, you will always have to contend with feelings of fear and have feelings of lack of funds. Lack of funds is also a major issue. People will start, you need money to fund your vision. God told me, one of the chapters I wrote in this book, you don't need a vision you can afford. God says you will never have enough money to do what I want you to do. If I call you to do it, you will never have enough money. Somebody might say, you okay, we don't know that I'm going to succeed. You have already known from the beginning. It's a lie. You don't know what I'm going through. You say you are the best. I see how you talk. If you can't say that you do know how much you bless me, all those things are rubbish. By the time you get on the field, you find that everybody has that terrible feeling of this thing not working. So it took a lot of courage to step out of that place, and I'm grateful to God that I took that decision at that time that I took it. All right, new beginnings. I remember. Let me start my new beginning from the very first meeting we held. That was the first night. The first 2, it was SLC. We held it in September 2017. I'll never forget. We had days of prayers and fastings as we prayed for that meeting. and believe God for it. It was a mighty meeting, very strong outpouring of God's power. All right, in March 2019, when it became a church, we had the first inaugural service, March 10, 2019. Of course, like I said, there were still elements of fear, elements of anxiety, uncertainty. I used to say that faith and uncertainty are Siamese twins. The Bible says that hope that is seen is no longer hope. If you have hope, you will not. It has to be something that you are hoping, that it will happen. If you are certain about it, then it's no longer hope. If you're already certain, then it's fact. It's going to happen. But hope is that you're hoping that it happens. So everyone, must learn how to step out, without uncertainty. So we started church. We had a number of people from regular service. A few friends came. The place was jam-packed. Then the next service, everybody went back to their churches, and we were left with our family. So we had to start. I remember we had troubles with instrumental musicians. Could give people thank God for the musicians I have in SS now. The ones I had before, they showed me shaking. One day I was in a choir, but I had to tell them to pack the drums. Like, just guys didn't even have drums. It's the apostle who have drums, So we had all those times, but then God began to bless us with amazing people. Things started, turning in beautifully, small. We are not there yet. We're not there, but things started easing out a little bit. We still need faith to move. We still need faith to do a lot of things. Things got to be easier. But the moment it gets easier, you get into something else, it gets difficult. Because you have to keep stretching, you have to keep dreaming. If it gets easier for too long, that means you're not dreaming more. You must always everybody who lives in faith must always live on the edge. If it's too easy for you, then that means you're not growing. For growth, pain and growth work together. The growth starts when the pain begins. If you're a bodybuilder, when the pain begins is when the growth started. So my greatest gift will still be people. If you ask me what's the greatest moment, it will be the people that God has given us. We have one of the most amazing set of human beings in the entire world. They are in SLC. If you're looking for the greatest people in SLC in the world, come to SLC, you find them there. A lot of studying goes behind the scene. I would say, if you ask me, two keys are learning and praying. Learning and praying. A lot of learning. I should say that I've never pastored before. 0% experience in pastoring. I read. I'm not sure there's any book, except core theology, maybe core theology, but church growth, church administration. That I took my time to read and read. I also check out the works of people a lot. I check out people's works a lot. I follow a lot of churches. Check out how they're doing. I learn a lot, and I also talk to people to get as well. So behind the scene is discipline of thoughts. Discipline of thoughts. I'll do a lot of mental work. People ask me, what are you doing? I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I do a lot of mental work. I picture everything in my head. I ensure that I have it clear in my head before I even come out to execute it. If I face an obstacle in my head, I won't go ahead. I will solve that obstacle in my head first before coming out. So that even if I meet anything, things will change, but I won't be absolutely unprepared for any eventuality. So I think to a large extent that behind the scene, most of the work will go to praying, believing God, and then learning. So you see, learning exposes me to other people's work. What that exposure does is that it helps my mind to dream bigger. So where we are today in 3 years, I am not satisfied. Because I believe that we could be doing better. I'm always believing that we can do better. I've never got to a point where I thought I'd done anything serious. I celebrate God. I do that for the sake of people that are following me. I lead them to thank God. But if you ask God, God says, Philip is a grateful but dissatisfied son. I'm always dissatisfied. I never sit back to celebrate my successes. Well, they'll tell you to celebrate your success, but I'm sorry, I don't do that. Maybe I'll do that maybe later. But I don't even see that as success. I'm trying to run off. I'm trying to run. Who is pushing me? So I don't know what. I'm always on that edge as though there's something. And that's if you have looked at the team of our church, it's always be something around more. There's more. There always be something to stir up people, and that's what SLC members will have to suffer. If an SLC member, you will never be able to sit down except you don't listen. You're not able to say, you're not able to celebrate your success per se. You always, because I will never make you feel as if you have done something. If you carry me to come and launch something, by the time I'm launching, I will tell you already that alpha. What's next? What's next? What do I do next? I'm asking you immediately, what do I do next? What's next? What's next? You must have a next thing. You must have a next plan. You must have a next. As I am now, you have plans what we're doing next. So I believe very strongly that has helped me grow, more and more to become what God has brought us in. So behind the scenes is a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, a lot of dreaming, and a lot of praying. First on the top of my list, what you would have done better. And I'm going to advise him. I still discussed with my wife today when we were driving down today. I think when I told her, people must find purpose before they bring in someone else into their lives. It is because it makes it more difficult to decide. Purpose will stretch you. Purpose will cost you. Purpose is sacrifice. It's easier to bear that sacrifice alone first. That's why the Bible says one will chase 1,000. Because God expects one to be chasing something before you make it two. And a lot of people don't see that like that. They just want to marry. So I always advise people, have a plan. One of the frustrations I face with my wife, was that she doesn't even know really what I wanted to do. She asked me, because what I go to do, I said, I don't know. That frustration was terrible. So always find purpose. Always find clarity. Do it and marry into it. Because by the time you're getting married into purpose, the purpose itself has grown to a level that's able to fend itself. It makes it easier. Then when your wife comes and joins you there, you guys are able to double efforts and reach more efficiency and success. Everyone has made life, made it in life early where people found that first before bringing in someone else to join them. If a woman is your helpmate, she wants to help you do something. But if you don't have anything to do, then there's a problem, there's frustration. So first on my list will always be that. If that is solid, I'll find purpose. Two, don't allow fear. Don't allow fear. Don't allow fear to stop you. Find purpose early, and then two, when you find purpose, run after it. Make your mistakes early. Make all the mistakes you want to make early. That's why pencils don't have biro. Use pencil. Biro does not have eraser. I mean the normal. Yeah, biro doesn't have eraser. The normal biro doesn't have eraser. So normal pencil, when you are at primary school, they give you pencil. But when you start getting to primary 3, primary 4, they change to biro. Because they expect at that time you should make less mistakes with your life. So if you now grow up, when you're supposed to be using biro, you don't start making mistakes. You have a mess right in front of you. So make your mistakes early in life. Make those mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. Settle that now in your heart. A lot of people are stuck because they don't want to make a mistake. You are going to make a mistake. You are going to get it wrong. I got many things wrong, pastor church. There are a lot of things, if I'm going to start church now, there are things I'm not doing. There are things I'll be more careful about. But I made my mistake, but I've learned on it. If I want to advise someone else, I'll say, don't do this, don't do that, because I've learned. So make your mistakes early, and then you'll be able to get out of it very fast.